If you're a loved one struggling with an eating disorder, call Center for Change's 24-hour-a-day toll-free hotline at 888-224-8250. Good afternoon. My name is Ivanna S, and today I'll be answering the question, to what extent has the excessive use of social media apps in females aged 16 through 24 led to eating disorders in the United States in the past 10 years? My claim is that in the past 10 years, the excessive use of social media has become a risk as it can negatively influence women into body dissatisfaction and may cause disordered eating in women aged 16 through 24. My solution is that women realize the problem of the eating disorder and seek help through family and therapy. Know the warning signs of an eating disorder beforehand and limit social media. Before someone can understand how social media triggers or influences an eating disorder, it's important to understand what eating disorders are and what they can do to someone's body. The American Psychiatric Association describes an eating disorder as an illness in which a person experiences severe disturbances in their eating behaviors and related thoughts and emotions. There are several types of eating disorders, and the majority of them come from wanting to lose an unhealthy amount of weight. A few common eating disorders you might have heard of include anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, and purging. To start off with, anorexia is when someone sees themselves as overweight. They get obsessed with the idea of being skinny and may constantly check their weight. A few symptoms of anorexia include fainting, hair thins, low blood pressure, slow heart rate, anemia, weak muscles, kidney failures, and as you can see here, a lot more. People who experience bulimia often find themselves in a period where they binge eat a ton of food and lack control over this episode. Afterwards, they fast, exercise large amounts, and force themselves to vomit to compensate for the binge eating. As you can see here, people with bulimia often find themselves stuck in a cycle. They start with compulsive eating, and then they force themselves to vomit, and it becomes a routine for them. Finally, binge eating is when someone consumes an unusually large amount of food in one sitting and lacks control over this. A few symptoms of binge eating include weight gain, low self-esteem, anxiety, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, and higher chance of heart attack, type 2 diabetes, or chronic kidney problems. It's important to mention, as it was mentioned in the social media and the movement of ideas, social media has become an extremely important part of the majority of our online lives. It's worth mentioning the three phases we have gone through since the invention of the World Wide Web. To start off with, we have our one-to-one connections, which happened in the 80s, includes emails. Our one-to-many connections, which happened in the 90s, included webpage, and the phase we're going through now are many-to-many connection, also known as social media. But as glamorous as social media might be, the excessive use of it could be damaging to your mental health. According to the NEDA, approximately 7 in 10 women and girls report a decline in body confidence and an increase in beauty and appearance anxiety, which they say is driven by the pressure for perfection from media and advertising unrealistic standards of beauty. The brain does not fully develop until the age of 25, and when teens view these perfect lifestyles of media, they start to desire their life. This can result in body objectification and comparison. For some people, getting the most likes on an Instagram post is how they determine their self-worth. They may believe that our beauty determines our worth. This is known as body objectification, a struggle many women with eating disorders have. Comparison is similar. People judge themselves for not being as beautiful or as skinny as the woman they see on media apps. Social media gives women an unrealistic idea of how they should look. And when struggling with an eating disorder, these two factors together can force yourself to eat the wrong types of food. The majority of media's influences come from the thousands of pro-eating disorder websites and accounts that are often run by people who battle their own anorexia. They attract women who don't necessarily like their bodies and gives tips on how to be anorexic and bulimic, tips on foods with fewer calories, and photos like these for the inspiration. But when used responsibly, social media can actually improve your self-esteem rather than bring it down. This photo shows a couple strategies you can use when dealing with anorexia or an eating disorder. The first one would be to use social media to find support from people also going through the same thing. Number 2 is to use it for education and inspiration. Number 3 is to connect with people who also relate with you. And number 4 is to use it as a distraction, either by watching something you're interested in or reading something you're interested in. And the last one is to not use it too much, as it can prevent you from the real world. For some people, the 5 strategies aren't enough. This is why I have come up with a few other solutions. The first one is to delete pages who support eating disorders. To do this, we can start by blocking and reporting these accounts. Doing this would get rid of the triggers that come from these websites. The second one is to limit or get rid of social media. If social media is what causes you to lower self-esteem, getting rid of it would lessen the urge of wanting to skip a meal or lose weight. And my final solution is to seek help through therapy. A good form of therapy for women battling with an eating disorder is cognitive behavioral therapy. The basic principle of CBT is that our thoughts have a direct connection with our emotions and behaviors. So in a therapeutic setting, patients' schemas are identified, evaluated, and explored. This image sums up CBT. To start off with, stage 1 is starting a treatment plan and building therapeutic alliances. Stage 2 is treatment evaluation and progress. Stage 3 is an ongoing assessment of emotional regulations. And the final stage is to beginning a relapse prevention plan. And to conclude, I have my limitation. There's a few limitations for my solutions. To start off with, CBT is probably less effective with certain kinds of clients who don't have the capacity to reason logically. Some people wouldn't be able to get rid of social media as it is used in some areas of their work. And finally, it is hard to find people who can find positive reasons from social media. This is why it's important to search around and look at which option is best for you. What questions may you have? Thank you.
2 questions I have for you. First up, how valid and reliable were the sources that you use, and how do you know?
Well, my sources, I got them from different types of eating disorder websites who do major research on them. I've also found some past stories of people who also suffer from these disorders and also have found why social media influences them. For example, when I started talking about the pages that support anorexia, I found a lot of pages that support anorexia and how they affect some young women and to eating disorders.
All right, and if you had more time, what additional research would you do?
I would like to find how parents could help teens to limit social media, because in our day and age, a lot of females and a lot of teens are going on social media, and it's hard to find a way to lower this thing. For example, parents could try limiting social media from a young age so that when they grow up, it's not as important.